Good evening, everybody. This is Potter Stocks. I have to start off by apologizing. I've got two kids, and they were so nice as to spread whatever stomach virus is going around. So I spent yesterday building my abdominal wall. But otherwise, we got a laundry list of stocks to go over, as well as prepping for the week ahead. Tomorrow, at Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be holding a Q&A, and that is in regards to anything related to the Potter Box, trading, you name it. So be there tomorrow. It will be live on TikTok as well as inside of the Discord if you're a premium member. All right, so to kick things off, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the week ahead. And again, we like to do this in order to correlate, right? Potential price action with potential data. And this week, we got some. So starting off Monday, we really have lighter data coming in with just Cook speaking. We got factory orders and final services PMI. But the big data comes in Tuesday and Wednesday, as well as Friday. But Tuesday, the whole week is fucking chock full except for Thursday. But we have Tuesday ISM services PMI and JOLTS. That comes in at 10 a.m. We've got FOMC minutes at 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. Jesus. And then on Thursday, we're just filled with FOMC speakers, which not always, but a lot of the times we correlate with sideways action. Finishing out the week, we have average hourly earnings, non-farm employment change, and employment rate all coming in on Friday, 8:30 a.m. All right. So, pretty data-filled week. This is definitely something where swing trading into certain positions could be pretty awesome, especially with some of the empty space that we're about to dive into right now. So starting out the analysis here, we're going to go ahead and take a look at SPY, right? We're going to cover what's above and what is below. So we can for certain say that underneath 582 candle close 24-hour time frame, we're probably going to be heading down where we have a first price target right here at 572.16, right? Bit by bit. This is coming from a higher time frame cost basis, right? So potentially 570 or that 572 mark would be the first target underneath us. But we did bounce on Friday after sellers had two unsuccessful days trying to, or really three, if you want to count the 284 bounce. But 2 or 3 unsuccessful days in trying to push the price below this wall. Buyers on Friday were able to squeeze out some of those sellers. We'll take a look at the 4-hour time frame, and hopefully this is what takes us up, right? So we're going to have, and this is awesome, right, in the sense where we have clear mechanics underneath us, right? We have a top at 591.10. We're going to want to stay above that at all ends. 588.21 because that could signal that next downside move. But there is exciting news. We're exciting potential price action to the upside. Now, this isn't your quintessential Potter box, right? But it does have the dynamic of having that range. Cost basis is the top of that red candle. So that's going to be the first trigger, 593.55 going into Monday and Tuesday. Now, there is a gap up at the top here at 594.88. That's going to hopefully be a magnet for price. Now, moving over, right, we have a little bit of what we like to call empty space. This is where we thrive. This is where we hold our positions from point A to point B because it works. And that being said, basically 593.55, we're hoping for a big, strong push up into that $599, $600 mark. There is another gap at cost basis at $600.50. So, theoretically, we could see an uptrend kind of form like this, starting to look pretty good, right? And we could see our cost basis up above retested at 605. So pretty clear chart, right? Obviously, we're going to react to our triggers accordingly, but we like this. Now, moving on, we're going to take a look at IWM. Now, this one, I did take a position on going in over the weekend. It is speculative, but it's worth speculation if you ask me. So we're on the 4-hour here. The 24-hour just looks almost the exact same, except for we're in a box, and we don't like trading inside of the boxes. We like trading through them, outside of them, kind of like right here. We like to see that movement outside of the area of consolidation. That's the tension that we need to continue. That being said, we have a trigger similar to our other ETFs where there is a, give me a second, there is a box, right? Or a smaller, lower time frame box with a cost basis of 225.26. I'm looking for a punch outside of that where you'll find empty space and an imbalance mark at 228. This is your floor. And once that is recovered, we can talk about a potential move up to the 230s, where there's potential for runners there. But that is the hottest, or most clear target in front of us is the 228. All right, so that's IWM. We're going to finish up with the Qs here. And like its brother SPY, right? We are dealing with a similar setup, lower time frame, 4-hour downtrend, right? We are closing, or did close rather, up against the floor at 519, leaving cost basis at 521. Our next trigger, where there's a, like SPY, a gap to fill at 522.47. Now, a candle needs to close outside of that in order for us to take advantage of this pocket of empty space. So for Qs, it's farther away. It doesn't mean that it's not liable to get hit, but 528, 527.50 will be the target if we can break. Keep in mind, lower time frame downtrend is going to be centered at the imbalance to make a confluential target. So that's my first target right there for the Qs. Now, there is some remaining empty space up here in this little pocket, and that's going to be your trigger to get there. One thing at a time. Okay, so we got a list of stocks, and since nobody's on here sexually harassing me, we can maybe get through these pretty quickly. I'm just kidding. I love going live. I'm just not feeling my best right now. I probably doesn't look like that. It's just the lighting, but not feeling 100%. All right, so we're gonna start this off with Pfizer, one of my least favorite stocks in the whole world. Just a terrible mover. This one has formed its own area of consolidation outside of the box that it's left. And yeah, I saw a bunch of your guys' analysis inside of the Discords, right? The free Discord. You can see why it's banging up against this wall. That is your floor. And so above 26.88, you're going to aim for the first green candle to your left. That's going to be 27.37. I obviously, and I'm sure you guys see this as well, when you go to the weekly time frame, it's just 28.27. So above this, we get this, and that would be my goal there looking at Pfizer. It does have a nice little potential channel here coming from the downside, but again, price action on this one is hot dog water. All right, next one is KMI. All right, so this one, it looks like it's wicked outside, so we'll delete all of this. It looks like there was a box right here. You did punch through, you did reach up. There's got to be something here on the lower time frame, and there it is. So unfortunately, right, the Potter box says new highs outside into your next resistance, and if there is one right outside, there you go. So 28.65 is going to be the punchback needed to see KMI into highs, right? Not new highs, but highs. And why is it stopping here, right? That's obviously on our mind here, and we can see that this is that $29 floor. You're having a hard time you're not having a hard time. You're actually building underneath it. So this could give you a potential pop-up, and you could grab this structure. So it doesn't look terrible. 30.50, 30.80 would be your cost basis on the weekly. All right, moving on. We have Shopify. All right. So we're going to take a look over here at the 24-hour. And it looks like my old analysis is somewhat playing out. And I can tell you this, not a bad setup, right? So I'll tell you when I don't like something, but I'll also tell you when I do. I don't mind this setup, right? Shopify has some wild spreads. You got to play, basically move through the needle, right? But 113.70 would be the first and most obvious target, right? With Shopify moving outside of 110.50, moving up into this 113.60, and if you can, right, cost basis. Now, I think you guys can see the potential outcome If this is broken, we're looking for new highs, right? And it's not new highs. Shopify still has, and this is beautiful, right? This is being able to move fluidly in between both time frames and see the potential outcome. So if we are able to leave, right, and when you go to the weekly here, you'll notice this is our box, right? And you're holding that wick floor pretty good, 104.35. So if you can move outside of that, keep it simple. That's your next target, and that is 130.80. Pretty juicy. Sorry. All right, so Shopify, Mara. I'm going to take a look at Mara here. Now this one, Stelio, I'm looking at you. I hope you and anybody else who's struggling with taking their positions, right? One of our members, Stelio, really talented when it comes to analysis. And a lot of other people who are talented with analysis will see a play and get spooked, right? And I get it. Sometimes what we have done in the past can basically haunt us. But we have to remember that each stock and each SPY is different than Mara, right? So if you lost on SPY, it doesn't make it Mara the same thing. And a lot of things just move a little bit better mechanically. Not to say SPY doesn't, but there are periods of time where SPY is not favorable because it does not move in the same manner that some individual stocks will do. So I'd rather move through individual stocks than move into SPY. SPY is obviously nice to trade here and there, but not my all-day, everyday stock. So let's take a look. Now, again, this was one that was actually brought up to me before the break. We looked at a 118.25 break here, and then empty space up to the floor, up to cost basis. And so, yes, now there is another target here through that punchback. We're looking for another empty space push up to 21.50. If you don't think Mara can keep going, you're wrong. Now, we do have a downtrend, and we're going to keep that in mind because it's picture perfect, right? That has a target right here of 21 flat. Now, this served as a previous resistance, so we're going to call it what it is. But it is also, in this little lot of empty space, you're in balance. So that's going to be your target. Maybe runners going to 21.50. All right. So sorry about that. All right, we have let's see, Nvidia. Now this one was a crazy good play, and I talked about it last week above 140.45 cost basis, right? And now I will say this, right? This is not the clearest box in the world, and when you go down into the 4-hour, you'll notice that this box, right, was actually punched through on earnings, and it did vaporize some of that volume that it held. Now, where did you close? You closed right up against this floor, and to your left, you've got a box, right? So we're going to really just pay attention to the box. So cost basis is 145.20. That should lead you up to the next target of 147.45. If you can punch past that, we know Nvidia. We know Nvidia 150s, 160s. But while I'm here, I do want to point out something. I hope that those of you who still use patterns, maybe stop. There is a better way. So I don't know how many times I've seen people get absolutely shredded. On these type of patterns, right? My strategy says any punch through the 50% mark of any box, which you would have found here at $38.75 for Nvidia, was never punched through. So you never got your signal. And the rapid movement up here, in my opinion, is exactly just directly correlated with the fact that sellers see stuff like this. You get 4 or 5 days of bait, and then it squeezes the dog shit out of people, right? And that's not even humanly possible because we're humans and not dogs. But that being said, right, stop it. You know what I'm saying? There's a better way. Use horizontal levels, right? Things like this will tell you a whole lot more than something like this. Now, again, if we are looking at patterns, the head and shoulders, not so juicy, but the inverse head and shoulders might be the only pattern that I will consider. but it has to be rooted in the Potterbox system, right? So Potterbox first, maybe we look at something like that. Now, that tells us what, right? That it potentially goes up, but you still have to abide by the price targets in front of you. So Nvidia, a lot of potential here, right? But get rid of the fucking patterns. All right. Nvidia, Starbucks. Look at me looking around like somebody's watching. All right. So Starbucks has empty space. Absolutely, unequivocally, you have tapped this red candle's wall on a lower time frame. This is super clear. So 93.20, you can get moving, right? Now, one thing I will say is a 24-hour here is not providing the type of clarity that I typically like to see. So I'm going over here, and that's 95. So from 93, I'd be trying to shoot my shot to 95. And I hate to keep it so simple, but it really is that simple. Now, I do want to point out on a lower time frame, you do have a channel here with 94.50 as its channel top. Now, how long you consolidate will change that price target, and 95 could be perfect. So you just have to be vigilant about taking that break, set your stop loss on the top, and let it go. All right, Google is next on the radar here, and I believe somebody asked me both ways, right? So no particular bias here. And with that being said, probably is the right time not to have one, right? Because this is pinched all to hell. Now, granted, it's tough to grab a channel, right, and pull it out, like pause, like this, right, and say that's extreme, but in the reality is when you're consolidating this way, and most pattern traders, here we go again, would call this a triangle, right? But we can see clear targets above and below, right? If you break this floor of 188, clear target of 184. If you're able to break over this wall of 193, you have a not as big of a target, but a direct target up at 194 and 195.75. So that would be one of the triggers, right? That would probably send me taking this to the potential upside. I also think it's worth paying attention to this. You can see that this box is formed by trying to recover that floor is unable. So if you could punch through this, you recover that, and 198 becomes a target. And at that point, yeah, I would probably be looking at this thing ripping total ass. I mean, it could be a ripper. It looks. If anything, it has the consolidation needed to move. Might need a little more time, but it still looks all right. All right, WBA. Now this one eventually, above, and this is, I get a lot of traders who will take positions before they happen, and I get that. If you can't afford it, you should not, right? It's just that simple. Don't. But you can see here that this is the box that triggers us to move outside. This is the weekly. Weekly, it means something. Above you is nothing but empty space. So we'll take it from the floor, take it from the top, add the imbalance, right? And so your first target outside this punchback of 1138, right, not taking it too soon, would be leading you up to this first target. Now, I mean, I get it. This thing has seen better days, but ultimately, if I was going stupid long on it off that trigger, I'm not aiming for just the imbalance. I'm aiming for the floor of 15 and maybe even all the way up here at $20 because that's where the empty space ends. All right. And by the way, I left the Discord up. We are going to, before the end of this video, we had I was gone for 2.5 weeks, and the freaking gains that are put out by our Discord are insane. Truly, truly insane. But we'll take a look at that in a minute. All right. So WBA, you're waiting for your trigger. All right. Tesla, and this one, I actually made a biggity bag on this thing. Really, really beautiful lower time frame rip. You had a small box right here, take it off the top, and you ended up going and reaching this floor of 12. Now, the next target right here is clear as day, and that is 420, psychological number, and that pocket of empty space is what I want. Now, I will say, as you're moving forward, watch this 490 or 431.21. I know a lot of you guys in the Discord have this chart, right? You're looking at the same chart as I am, so clearly it's in the 445s and 460s that we could be seeing a stoppage, right? Now, the only alternative that I'll give you is if you're unable to break this floor, this, right, having that empty space underneath you, you have to be able to hang on to something so you could come right back down. But I think with the momentum and even just a small gap up, we're looking pretty good for a continuation of the upside. All right, Tesla, Carvana, and I know somebody said that there was some fucking report on it, but you could have traded this without the report. You lose the floor, beautiful, beautiful floor loss. Here, we could just throw that away. So 235 was lost, right? You lost then the 225 floor. You consolidated underneath it, showing that buyers are unable to recover it. And you punch straight through this box underneath you at 192.50, excuse me. If I pause, it's because I'm feeling a little weird. 195.50. If that floor, or when that floor was lost, you then returned back down to this structure. So as it goes, right, if it punches underneath 175 or pushes underneath and loses 170, we're aiming for 160. All right, Carvana. BRTX is the next chart that we have here. And this one seems like it's pretty basic, right? Tapping floor right there, area of consolidation here. Now, I would assume that the 4 hour is going to open up a little bit more of what's really going on here. So I think you're in space, right? Consolidation, rejection off the top. You could come back down here for a third time, and that's where maybe you head up and you make your break. I think it's really, really important that you hold on to this floor of 399.36. So maybe a little bit of time just here, or just a little bit more time on that one. Kava, interesting setup, but definitely one that I am interested in myself. It bounced off of this bottom right here. Actually avoided a close under cost basis, hit cost basis up above at 117.36. So pretty simple for me. I am taking this, setting it there, and I'm setting an alert. If that triggers, the first target would be 123, but we're really looking for a punch back over 125, and that's where this play opens back up for 135 and maybe even 140 run. So it looks pretty good. Where the fuck did I go? All right, moving on. Love. Okay, so, oof, you are building a box around cost basis, which is typical for something this large, that has this large of an area of consolidation. That being said, right, you've made a rapid decline down. Now you can come to a simple conclusion that you're going to have to re-break the same resistance that you did before, which is $29.50 and $30. But 24-hour time frame will tell you when and how that is going to happen. So here's what I see. I see a lower time frame 4-hour box that you're consolidating underneath. So 25.45 and 26.50 will be two triggers that are necessary to retest the top. And if that's broken, yeah, I would be looking. And typically in these scenarios, I'm looking at some sort of channel forming, something like that. Right, and that's typical for something that's fallen this fast. It'll create its little downtrend. So that's what I see on that one. Not a ton of volume on love, but looks all right. All right, 24. Now this one, I get it, right? This one's a little frustrating. Just really, really banging up against this same 137 wall. You did leak out. You did touch, and I noticed this on Friday. You touched this candle open at 138. So I'm going to assume that's the next goal line. Now, if this one doesn't end up working and we punch down underneath 135.36, we're going to have to call it because there's a pretty big chunky move down to 132. So I would keep that on the radar here. If you're in target or if you're looking for target, it is outside of 138 again if we can bounce back up and move out. So I still think that target might have some news correlated to it that sends us up, but we shall see. All right, PayPal. All right, now this one has a lower time frame downtrend that's super clear. I can just spotted it from a mile away. And here's what is happening now. So you do have an area of consolidation. Outside of 88.71, right? It is 89.77. That is your first target. Now look at the weekly really quickly, and you can see that this is more than likely, and I can't call whether or not it's going to break this range. But above that 88.60, the top is vulnerable at 92, right? If you could break that, I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. It is a wild setup, and I would be looking at this trigger right here at $96. You do have a little bit of empty space up there to 113 right there, but that's what I'd be looking at with PayPal. All right, that's about it, I think, with the list. So, all right, if you guys have any questions on those charts, I'm going to be trying to make more of these videos because I know that you guys can kind of sift through those really quickly. When we're live, I don't mind going a little bit more in depth, looking at, lower time frame setups within these, but we'll save that for Monday morning. Anyway, I do want to close out just by briefly gloating. If hopefully you guys can see this, it's just absolutely diabolical gains. And I do this as well as a congratulations to those of you guys in my Discord. Coors, you already know, dude, you're on another level here, 367%. Mike hit a 280% trade with Uber. Let's see here. We've got Tremors on Amazon for 409%, right? It's pretty badass. Best trades of 2024. That one's going to be tough for you guys to see, but 1,000% trade this year. Pretty badass. 315%. Let me bring that down a little bit. There you go. Yeah, 315%. So pretty impressive stuff. And again, as you scroll back, I was here this week, but as you scroll back, right, I was gone here. Google 950%, TSLL 720 and 400%. Kind of, I just skip over the fucking 130% because it's literally just, I'm just not chump change, but it's not a benchmark. If anything, it's just where we trim cues. You got a nice 771% trade on that. Get them. Really cool small account deal you're getting, are moving through. Karina, it's been nice to see her size up her positions from 2 to 3 contracts, more 5 or 6. So pretty badass. But look at this shit. Just absolutely ridiculous gains all the way through. 318%, 516%. So anyway, while these are flashy, this cannot be done without us, of course, abiding by the system. Higher time frame trades give us this. It's worth waiting for. Sometimes we have to wait a little bit. If you're new to the Discord or new to this strategy and you're looking to gather more information, if you go to simplestacksinvestments.com, again, we are not a signal group. That is not my MO. I'm here to create and help you become a independent trader. So if you don't believe that's necessarily possible for you, I would save your money. But you can hit this and that'll have you join the free Discord. And then, of course, these are my social medias. So memberships are down below. Anyway, all right, guys. You guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to leave a like, drop a comment. Tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern time. I almost said Eastern Central. Eastern time, I will be live. So that is basically the end of the day, right after the bell rings. So we'll start around 4:15. But I will be live. So I'll probably be live a little bit earlier that day, around 2 o'clock, and then give myself a little break before we kick that off. So anyway, you guys have a wonderful evening. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.